Most people get this completely wrong. They think a man wanting intimacy is obvious. It's not. The real signs are quieter, and if you miss them, you misunderstand everything. Because when a man truly wants intimacy with you, he doesn't just move closer to your body. He starts moving closer to your world. And here's the truth. This is where people confuse attention with intention. Just because someone is charming, flirtatious, or even physically expressive doesn't mean they want real intimacy. It might just mean they enjoy the moment. But when a man is genuinely drawn toward you on a deeper level, his behavior shifts in ways that feel different. Not louder, but more focused.
Not rushed, but more deliberate. And if you don't understand these signals, you risk either pulling away from something meaningful or investing in something that was never real to begin with. The first clear sign is this. He becomes deeply attentive to the small details about you. Not just the obvious things, your appearance, your smile, but the subtle things most people overlook. The way your mood shifts when you talk about certain topics, the specific words you use when you're excited or nervous. He remembers things you didn't even think were important enough to repeat. And more than remembering, he uses that information. He adjusts how he speaks to you, how he approaches you, how he connects with you. This isn't random, this is focus. Because when a man wants intimacy, he studies you, not in a calculated way, but in a genuinely curious way. He wants to understand what makes you feel safe, what makes you open up, what makes you feel seen. The second sign is in his physical presence, not just touch, but how he positions himself around you. Anyone can initiate physical contact. That's easy. But what matters is the intention behind it. Does he rush into it or does he build toward it?
A man who wants real intimacy doesn't treat touch like a shortcut. He treats it like a conversation. There's a gradual increase in closeness. He watches your reactions. He adjusts based on your comfort. There's a sense of awareness in how he moves toward you, not just desire. And sometimes, what's even more telling is restraint. Moments where he could escalate, but chooses not to, because he values the connection more than the outcome. That restraint is not lack of interest, it's controlled intention. The first sign revolves around a man becoming highly attentive to the small, often overlooked details about you. And this goes far beyond basic attraction or casual interest. Many people notice surface-level traits, appearance, style, or how someone carries themselves. But when a man is genuinely moving toward intimacy, his focus sharpens in a more meaningful way.
He starts picking up on the nuances of your personality, the subtle shifts in your tone, and the patterns in how you express yourself. For example, he may remember how your energy changes when you talk about something you care deeply about, or how you become quieter when something is bothering you, even if you never directly say it. This kind of awareness is not accidental. It reflects a deeper level of engagement where he is actively trying to understand you as a person rather than just enjoy your presence in the moment. What makes this attention powerful is not just that he notices these details, but that he responds to them. He adjusts his behavior based on what he learns about you. If he senses that certain topics make you light up, he brings them into conversation more often. If he notices something makes you uncomfortable, he avoids pushing in that direction. This creates a sense of emotional safety because you feel seen without having to explain yourself repeatedly.
It shows that he values your inner experience, not just the interaction itself. Over time, this attentiveness builds a quiet but strong connection. It signals that he is investing mental and emotional energy into understanding you, which is a key component of intimacy. Unlike fleeting attraction, which is often driven by impulse, this kind of focus requires patience and genuine curiosity. It is also consistent rather than sporadic. He doesn't just pay attention when it benefits him or when he wants something. He does it naturally because he is interested in who you are at a deeper level. The second sign is found in how a man handles physical presence and proximity, and it is far more about intention and awareness than simple attraction or impulsive touch. Many people assume that physical interest is always loud, obvious, and fast. But when a man is moving toward genuine intimacy, his behavior becomes more layered and controlled.
Instead of rushing physical closeness, he gradually builds comfort, paying close attention to how you respond at every stage. There is a noticeable sense that he's not just trying to get closer physically, but trying to understand what closeness feels like, with you specifically. This often shows up in the way he positions himself around you. He doesn't invade your space abruptly or without awareness. Instead, he subtly reduces distance over time, almost testing emotional and physical comfort without forcing it. He might lean in when you speak, but not in a way that overwhelms you. He stays close enough to feel present, yet gives you enough space to feel in control of your environment. This balance is important because it reflects respect for your boundaries while still expressing interest. Another key element is how he uses touch, or even how he refrains from it. A man who is only interested in short-term excitement often escalates touch quickly, without much thought.
But a man who is leaning toward intimacy becomes more deliberate. His touch, when it happens, carries context. It might be brief, but meaningful, like a light touch on your hand during a moment of laughter, or a gentle gesture that feels more reassuring than provocative. What matters even more is his ability to pause. There are moments where he could escalate physical closeness, but chooses not to. Not out of hesitation, but out of awareness of timing and your comfort. This restraint is actually one of the strongest indicators of deeper interest, because it shows he is not driven purely by impulse. Instead, he is reading the situation, observing your reactions, and adjusting accordingly. He is trying to create a space where closeness feels natural rather than forced.
Over time, this creates a rhythm between you that feels steady rather than chaotic, and that steadiness is often what separates surface-level attraction from something that is moving toward real emotional and physical intimacy. The third sign appears when a man becomes emotionally available in a way that feels gradual, intentional, and slightly vulnerable, and this is often the most overlooked indicator because it does not rely on charm or physical behavior, but on emotional exposure. Many people assume intimacy is built through attraction or shared time, but real closeness starts when someone begins to let their internal world become visible to you. A man who is only interested in surface-level interaction will keep his emotional presentation controlled. He will talk about safe topics, keep conversations light, and maintain a certain distance even when things feel friendly. There is a kind of predictability in his presence where you can engage with him, but you rarely feel like you are truly entering his deeper thoughts or emotions. When a man starts moving toward intimacy, that pattern begins to shift. He slowly reveals parts of himself that are not polished or strategically presented.
This does not mean dramatic confessions or overwhelming vulnerability. Instead, it shows up in small, meaningful disclosures. He might share something that shaped him in the past, a fear he rarely talks about, or an opinion that makes him slightly exposed. These moments are not random. They are selective, and they often happen when he feels a growing sense of trust. What makes this significant is not just what he shares, but the fact that he shares it with you specifically, as if he is allowing you into a space that most people do not see. Another important aspect is how he responds to your emotional presence. He does not just talk about himself, he also creates room for you to exist emotionally. He asks questions that go beyond surface-level curiosity, and he listens in a way that shows he is not just waiting for his turn to speak. Over time, this builds a dynamic where emotional exchange becomes more balanced and meaningful.
You may notice that conversations start to feel more personal, more reflective, and less transactional. This kind of emotional availability is not about intensity, it is about consistency and depth. A man who is moving toward intimacy does not rush vulnerability, but he does not avoid it either. He allows you to see him in a way that feels real, even if it is not fully complete yet. And that gradual unfolding is often the clearest sign that his interest is moving beyond surface connection. The fourth sign shows up in consistency, and this is where most people either get clarity or stay confused for far too long. Intimacy is not built on moments of intensity, it is built on patterns of behavior that repeat over time. A man who is genuinely moving toward intimacy does not just show up strongly once or twice and then disappear into inconsistency. Instead, his presence becomes steady in a way that feels reliable, even if it is not always dramatic or exciting.
This consistency is often more important than anything he says, because words can be shaped in the moment, but patterns reveal intention. When a man is consistent, you start to notice that he does not treat your connection as something conditional or situational. He doesn't only engage when he is bored, available, or seeking attention. He maintains contact in a way that feels natural, not forced. You may not hear from him every minute, but when he does engage, there is a sense of continuity, as if the connection has not been reset each time. He remembers previous conversations, he follows up on things you mentioned, and he does not make you feel like you have to reintroduce yourself emotionally every time you speak. This consistency also shows in effort. He does not rely on sudden bursts of attention to compensate for long gaps of absence. Instead, he invests in a rhythm of interaction that feels stable.
Even when life gets busy, there is still a thread of communication that remains intact. This creates emotional safety because you are not constantly trying to interpret where you stand with him. You are not left guessing whether his interest is real or temporary because his behavior does not fluctuate wildly based on mood or circumstance. Another subtle but important aspect is emotional consistency. He does not shift between being deeply engaged and completely detached without explanation. His tone, interest, and presence remain relatively aligned over time. This does not mean he is predictable in a dull way, but rather that his investment does not randomly disappear. That steadiness allows trust to build naturally, because intimacy requires a foundation where emotional presence does not feel uncertain or unstable.
The fifth sign is about understanding the difference between intensity and real interest. And this is where many people misread a situation, because intensity can feel powerful, exciting, and emotionally overwhelming, but it is not always stable or meaningful in the long run. A man who operates through intensity may show strong bursts of attention, frequent communication, or emotionally charged moments that make you feel highly valued in a short period of time. These moments can create a strong emotional impression because they feel immersive, almost like you are the center of his focus. However, what matters is whether that energy has structure behind it or whether it fades as quickly as it appears. When a man is genuinely moving toward intimacy, his behavior is not defined by emotional spikes, but by a steady level of engagement that does not dramatically collapse after excitement fades.
He does not rely on sudden highs to create connection. Instead, he builds a rhythm where his attention remains present even when circumstances are ordinary or unexciting. This difference is important because intensity often focuses on emotional impact in the moment, while consistency reflects sustained interest beyond emotional peaks. You may notice that an intense person can make you feel deeply noticed one day and then noticeably distant the next, without any clear progression in connection. This creates emotional confusion because the contrast between high engagement and sudden absence feels unstable. In contrast, consistent interest feels less dramatic but more reliable. It does not force emotional reactions. It creates space for connection to develop naturally over time without pressure or unpredictability. Another layer of this sign is emotional regulation. A man who is driven by intensity may be reactive, responding strongly based on mood or immediate attraction.
But someone who is leaning toward intimacy tends to show more control over how he expresses interest. He does not escalate connection simply because he feels a temporary surge of emotion, and he does not withdraw completely when that surge settles. Instead, his behavior stays relatively balanced, allowing trust to form without emotional extremes disrupting the process. This distinction becomes clearer over time, especially when you observe how he behaves when the excitement of early interaction naturally reduces, because sustained interest continues even when things are no longer new or stimulating. The sixth sign is curiosity about your inner world. And this is one of the clearest indicators that a man is moving beyond surface attraction into something closer to real emotional and physical intimacy.
Many interactions stay stuck at a level where people talk at each other rather than with each other, meaning conversations revolve around general topics, daily updates, or light humor without ever entering deeper emotional territory. But when a man is genuinely interested in intimacy, his curiosity shifts from what you do to who you are underneath what you do. This type of curiosity is not random questioning or polite conversation. It is intentional and sustained interest in understanding your thoughts, emotions, values, and experience. He does not just ask how your day was, he asks how it affected you. He does not just listen to your answers, he follows up in a way that shows he is processing what you are saying rather than waiting for his turn to speak. There is a noticeable effort to connect dots between your experiences, as if he is building a mental picture of your inner world over time.
What makes this especially meaningful is that he remembers emotional context, not just factual details. He may recall how you felt about something you mentioned weeks ago, or bring up something you said in passing because it seemed important to him. This creates a sense that he is not just interacting with you in the moment, but actually carrying parts of your inner world with him even when you are not present. Another important layer is that he begins to share curiosity about your perspective, not just your story. He asks how you see things, why you think the way you do, and what shaped your beliefs or reactions. This moves the connection beyond surface-level exchange and into a space where understanding becomes the goal, rather than just entertainment or attraction.
Over time, this curiosity creates emotional depth because it signals that he is not only interested in being close to you physically or socially, but in understanding what makes you feel the way you do. And that kind of interest naturally leads toward a deeper form of intimacy that feels more personal and more intentional.
In the end, what you are really learning to recognize is not just a set of behaviors, but a pattern of intention. Because a man who wants intimacy will not rely on confusion, mixed signals, or emotional randomness. He will show you a direction through consistency, attention, restraint, emotional openness, and genuine curiosity about who you are beneath the surface. None of these signs are loud on their own, and none of them are meant to impress you in a moment. They are meant to reveal something over time. And this is where most misunderstandings happen. People often chase intensity because it feels powerful, but intensity alone does not create depth. It creates moments. Real intimacy is not built in moments. It is built in continuity, in how someone remembers you, how they respond to you, how they adjust around you, and how they choose to stay present even when nothing dramatic is happening.
When you begin to see these patterns clearly, you stop overthinking individual actions and start reading the overall behavior. You stop asking what a single moment meant and start asking what the consistent pattern is saying. Because intention is not hidden in grand gestures, it is revealed in repetition. And once you understand this, your perspective shifts. You are no longer reacting to attention, you are observing alignment. You are not trying to decode mixed signals, you are recognizing clarity in behavior, and that clarity is what protects you from confusion and guides you toward healthier, more grounded connections. So the real takeaway is simple. Pay attention to how someone makes you feel over time, not just in isolated moments.
Because when a man truly wants intimacy with you, you do not have to force interpretation. You begin to feel understood, consistently, quietly, and without effort to convince yourself otherwise.